What an absolutely astounding, amazing, awesome episode, boy. I tell you, this fight between Genthru and Gon is one of my favorites, boy.
Hunter x Hunter, episode 74, Victor and Loser.
Holy shit. Man, Gon is scary. He is some next level scary shit. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and crazy fucking little spiky-haired kids named Gon of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and tantalizing and, man, some of this shit was downright disturbing tale of Hunter x Hunter. Now, our last episode, of course, saw Killua and Bisky defeating their respective opponents, and really the battle between Genthru and Gon just getting started. Genthru, however, though, is overpowering him. He's just bigger, stronger, faster, and Gon is trying to use his speed to his advantage to kind of enact this plan, but really just kind of was getting his ass whipped around all over the place. So, anyways, so that's how things left off. And things pick up right there in the midst of the forest with Genthru and Gon in their battle, right? And Gon had been kind of tempting or goading Genthru into actually using his little flower ability in the last episode. And finally, at the end, Genthru was like, you know what? That's it, man. I'm gonna go after this kid with it. He finally realized that, you know, this is what I'm gonna do. So he goes to come at him and goes to use this ability or whatever, and Gon actually is able to go and you know, use Gaio to protect his arm, where he grabs onto his arm, and actually blocks the attack. I mean, he still takes some damage, but it doesn't blow his arms off, right? And Genthru, of course, you know, is talking about how the little flower can blow this off, can blow flesh off, can blow that off, and that winds up happening a little bit later in the episode. But man, what an amazing fight between these two. And just to see Gon and how he pushes himself to the limits, man, it is absolutely insane. What winds up happening then is that then he goes to come at him and he goes to grab him, and because he knows that then Genthru then knows that Gon is going to be able to go and he knows Gaio, and obviously he can go and position that to portions of his body to use as a better defense, right? So then when he goes to grab his arm again, Gon, of course, anticipating that he's going to use the little flower technique on him, uses all his Gaio in that spot, and then takes a body punch that winds up sending him just flying across into a tree, I think, if I remember correctly. But anyway, what winds up happening is that Genthru's, you know, he's like, yeah, you know, while you were focusing on thinking my attack was going to come from there, you left yourself completely weak and open to another attack, you know. So, and Gon's already been beaten up and down all over the place. He's been getting his ass kicked, you know. So as this fight rages on, I'm just sitting here like, I mean, I'm just glued to the screen, you know, just watching this thing transpire. He finally goes and gets to the point where he pisses Gon pisses him off so much that he's like, you know what, that's it, man. He goes and pulls up both of his hands, get red and everything like that, right? And Gon has this little flashback from when Bisky told him. Basically, what winds up happening is that Bisky was able to go and have Gon was able to learn how to differentiate between the feeling between when somebody grabs onto your arm with intent to use a certain type of attack or not. So he's actually able to go, and as this goes back and forth a little more, Genthru goes to be able to hit him with another body blow, and Gon actually is able to go and tighten up and take that one, because he can feel the difference, you know, when he's grabbed between when there's intention of him to use the little flower and when there's not. So, and then that's the best way that I could understand or describe it, you know. So I know I'm not perfect, but I try to grab onto everything that I can. So. Nonetheless, though, we get to this point where, I don't know, a little bit before the halfway point, you know, where Genthru is just pissed off, and he's like, you know what, and he's got both his hands going, charging up, and he's like, you know what I'm going to do? He goes, I'm going to go and I'm going to come after you with both hands over here. He goes, and you're only going to be able to go and block your left or your right arm, and I'm going to blow the other one off, right? And then after that, I'm going to go and I'm going to come after one of your left leg and whatever arm is left, and then you're going to have to choose between those. And it's going to go so on and so on. So he's basically going to go, he's saying that you can't block both of them, right? And the reason that Gon was able to actually go and feel the difference and what have you when he's going to use the little flower is that when he goes to use that, he actually has to use some aura to protect his hand so his hand doesn't get blown off, right? Genthru does. And that was how that's how they explained it, that Gon was able to go and feel the difference between when he was going to use that and when he was not, because obviously if he's using the aura to protect his hand, that means he's going to use one of the explosions. Nonetheless, though, what comes next absolutely floored me. They're fighting, And Genthru's, and you know, and Gon is still just like, it's great because Gon in his mind, this is when he's supposed to go and enact the plan and everything, right? But he goes and he says, yeah, sorry, Bisky and Killua, I'm gonna be selfish here because I just had an idea, right? Gon's got an idea of a different method of attack that wasn't discussed earlier or planned out. So even though it's time for Gon to enact his plan, he's just like, nope, I'm gonna be selfish here and do what I want to do, right? And on one hand, you just want to slap the kid around and be like, dude, come on, man, teamwork, you know, stop acting on your own. You already got bitched at by Sagara for doing this shit a couple episodes ago. You have to think about your teammates, right? And the people that are with you. But anyway, but I understand Gon, though, too, because he comes up with this thing. Genthru comes at him and goes to grab him, grabs both of his arms, right, and uses his little flower power. And the way they show this, they're locked up, right? And then all of a sudden you see Genthru, and he's like, spits blood out of his mouth, and he's like, what? He landed an attack? They go and they pan the camera down, right? And as they pan it down, Gon didn't use his Gaio to protect either arm. He used a little bit on one arm, so it's just really ravaged and damaged, his right arm. His left hand is completely blown the fuck off. And he's standing there like, oh, hell, this hurts. And I'm thinking, dude, you just got your hand blown off, right? But here's the thing. He did that so he could go and use whatever remaining aura or whatever remaining power he had and force into his feet so he could go and, as he was getting his hands blown off, whip and kick this dude in the face, right? So then he goes and he's rock, paper, and Genthru's like flipping. First of all, he got hit, right? Which he doesn't think is actually, you know, didn't actually think it was me. He's a little bit dazed and whatnot, you know. He's backing up. The only thing that saves his little punk ass is that he actually trips backwards because as Gon goes to fire up the rock, paper, rock with what's left of his other hand, he goes and it fires right over him and he misses, you know. And Genthru's even laying there like, did I get hit? Did I not? Did I? He's shitting bricks, right? Genthru's white coat has got a brown streak right down the back of it because he shit his pants at that point. At least I think he did, right? And I'm sitting here looking at Gon, I'm like, he just blew your hand off. And even Genthru was just as amazed as I was because Genthru was like, are you serious? Like he didn't try to really save either hand. He gave what little bit he could, like 30% he averaged or whatever he thought about in his head, you know, to the right hand so it wouldn't get completely blown up. But sacrificed his left hand so he could try to go and get that hit in. And then if Genthru hadn't tripped and he had been still kind of stunned and dazed like he was and taken that, you know, that rock, paper, rock, boom, you know, that might have been over right at that point. Anyway, so I'm like, this is fucking nuts, you know? So then Genthru goes and he talks about how, you know what, you're never going to give up. And he goes and he does this shit about how his underhanded shit, you know? Oh, man, it's okay. I give up, right? And he's thinking in his mind, as soon as he gets close to me and I go to give him my binder or whatever, you know, however he's going to lure him in, I'm going to crush his windpipe because Gon had went and he pulled out a card that he was going to use on him, right? And Genthru's like, okay, well, if I crush his windpipe and then he can't talk or whatever, he's not going to be able to say any of these spells or use anything on me, right? And basically just a cheap, underhanded scumbag way of doing things, right? So as he goes and he pulls out his binder, he says, but I just want to keep this one card. And he goes to get Gon to come over by him and show him. And Gon's a good-hearted kid, man. You know, he's sitting there, he's hurting, his fucking hand is blown off. He thinks that, okay, this guy's finally learned his lesson. He's got it through his head, thick skull, right? That, you know, I'm not going to stop. As he goes and comes over at him, Genthru goes and, crushes his windpipe or whatever. Gon winds up actually blocking the second attack, or deflecting it or what have you. And, you know, then Genthru's like, all right, well, at least I crushed his windpipe. Gon is able to go and flip the card out that he had, right? Or the card that he had that was flipped out wound up actually turning into, it was like gasoline or oil. And I'm pretty sure it was because it was out of the binder for a minute, or because his windpipe was crushed, and I don't remember him saying anything. Anyway, regardless, doesn't matter. He's covered in gasoline, so now he cannot use his little flower power. And then we go, and it's going to force him to go and use his other power, which is countdown. And that's what he goes and he explains about what he can do. And all I got to do is place my hands and say bomber or bomb. And then you have to go and put, the only way you can disarm that bomb is to grab me and say, I caught the bomber. You know, we know the whole story and how it works. But he explains that that's his even more deadly attack, right? But so I can't use little flower right now because I'm covered in gasoline. Obviously, he'll ignite himself on fire, right? So Gon just fucking rock, and mind you, he has no left hand, right? So just picture Stumpy over here, right? Rock, paper, and then instead of coming at him, because Genthru's like, oh shit, that attack again, right? Gon's like, rock, and he hits the ground, right? And I had to watch this twice to see, because I thought that he just straight up caved in the ground. Because then Genthr's like, oh, a pitfall, and they fall into this pit. But when you actually watch it closely, you can see that there was that this was obviously was covered up over with dirt and everything like that. There looks like there's like wood beam supports and everything. So this whole spot was picked out and everything before. This is part of the freaking plan. And that's what I love about this strategic stuff, man, right? So they fall into this pit, you know, 40, 50 feet down, whatever the case is. And this is where Gon has, the minute has started. He's counting in his head that minute. He's got to time it perfectly, right? And I kept wondering, why a minute? What's the deal with a minute? Why a minute? And Genthr's like, okay, well, whatever. He's injured and we're both trapped. I can't climb out of here, but neither can he. I've got him cornered now, right? He looks over, Gon's not there. What the fuck, right? Goes and turns, and at the side of this, you know, this little chasm that they fall into, this pitfall, there's like a little, like, alcove, I guess you would call it, a little tunnel or whatever that Gon kind of emerges from. Gon's got it in his head. He's got the mental clock going for the minute. Any card, item card, that's out of the binder for a minute reverts back into the item that it was, right? Gon flips this card up into the air. This fucking thing turns into a huge boulder that goes and covers up the entire entrance and is falling down towards Genthru, right? Now, it's hard to tell if Genthru was able to scamper away and not fully take the hit of it, because afterwards he's kind of looks like he's in the corner, like he's still kind of freaking out, and he doesn't look as if he's just been fucking hit in the head with a boulder, because the boulder, rocks crushing down everywhere. Whether he got hit with it full on or whether he was able to dodge it a little bit or whatever the case was, after this happens, all of a sudden, Gon goes and appears, and now his windpipe is crushed, right? So he just basically sounds like a guy who's been smoking for like 40, 50 years, like in those Truth commercials, and he's just like, hey, bear. And Genthru's like, no, I give up, I surrender, you know? And Gon's just like, boom, and he just jacks him up. And the animation is just done so well. You see the blood fly, you see his glasses crack and fly off, you know, Genthr's. And he's just done, right? He is done at that point. And Gon even told him before then, you know, he told him that what's going to happen next. He warned him before this whole set of circumstances that if he didn't surrender then, that he may wind up dying. He might not even come out of this, because this is the end game, right? Man, was it so cool to see this, though, and just to see the way that Gon used, obviously, strategy and was able to lure him into this trap. And now, as far as his hand getting messed up in his throat and everything else, none of that would have happened, well, at least we don't think it would have happened, had he actually stuck to the plan. But he even said, I'm going to be selfish on this one. I'm going to try out this idea that I have, right? But I got to give him props, man. Sacrifices a hand for that shit. And now I don't know if they had it in their mind exactly what was going to happen afterwards and how much this, because, you know, everything's rumored to do this and that. But the Breath of Archangel card that they wind up getting out of the binder that, of course, that of course Genthru has, because now afterwards the guys are tied up, Sub and Bara and Genthru, they're all tied up and laying there, all messed up and everything else. And they wound up having they brought 6 copies of clones so they could actually clone Breath of Archangel. And I guess that, you know, when you use that, there's like this fairy that appears, this butt naked, cute, long haired fairy. You know, and basically says, what do you need? And they're like, hey, could you heal up Gon and heal all his wounds, you know? And she restores his hand and heals his windpipe, heals him up, right? Anyways, there's a little more intricacies that go on. They're only able to clone so many because Gorenyu had some, and then he appears. He doesn't want to actually, you know, go and heal up the bombers. And basically, what I liked about this is that Gon and Killua and Bisky explained to him, they're like, listen, we're not going to try to change your mind if that's what you believe, right? Yes, these people have killed people and everything else, but Killua goes and I think says it best. He's like, you know what? Are you not going to heal me then, too? I'm an assassin. I've killed many people that didn't even have, I mean, at least the people in this game, they kind of, I wouldn't say that they had it coming, but it's like, you know the risks when you go into this game, right? This isn't just like any other ordinary game. You're a certain level to begin with just to get into the game, right? So you know that you may die. Whereas Killua was like, you know, I'm an assassin, right? Contract killer. You know, many times the target they get, they're most of the time they're unaware. They're just, you know, slit a throat in the night or whatever. So Killua was basically saying, like, I'm much more of a detestable scumbag than these people. But the bottom line is that this is what we all decided. So Gorenyu eventually comes around and winds up giving all of his cards, the cards that Sagara and him had, gives them to Gon, and they can add to Gon's. And really what winds up happening is everybody's happy in the end. They wind up going and healing up the bombers. Gorenyu winds up coming around. And I don't think it's so much of like, hey, we're friends or anything like that. I think it's more of a like, you know what? I'm gonna go and show you that I'm better than you, that I'm not like you. You may have killed innocent people and done all these dastardly evil things, but I'm not like that. I'm not going to do that. You know, my goal was just to beat you and to get the, you know, so you wouldn't hurt anybody else and to get these cards, whatever, to complete the game. So nonetheless, they wind up getting all the cards. Gorenyu says that Segura says that they deserve it, blah blah blah. Everything else, they're gonna the payout from Batera for him is gonna be 4 billion Jenny. He's gonna split it amongst them, $1 billion apiece, right? And that's that. So he's got the 99 cards, and at the end of the episode, they go on the like the game master chick or whatever. When you come in the entrance there, or when you leave, she goes and announces that basically, like in 10 minutes, there's going to be this quiz, and it's going to be a 100-question quiz, and whoever gets the most questions right, it's going to be on all the slot cards, the restricted slot cards, and whoever winds up getting the most answers correct or whatever will get the number 0 card, the one that can actually complete that, you know, to complete the game. So, and basically what they think of with Gon and Killua and stuff, suspect, is that the reason that this is set up like this is that people that were in the game that stole most of their cards by hurting others and stuff like that, they're not going to have as much knowledge about these actual cards because they didn't acquire them firsthand. They didn't do a lot of the quests and things necessary to get them. So therefore, these restricted slot cards, they won't do so well in the test, and they wouldn't be the one to actually win anyway, you know? So it's kind of like a double-edged sword with that one there. I think it's to weed out kind of like the cheaters, so to speak, you know, the people that are in there just to kill and harm others, as opposed to playing the game, you know, how it's supposed to be played. So very cool episode, though. I still couldn't believe, even though they healed him at the end, I mean, it wasn't that big of a shock because at the end of the episode, they heal him, they restore his hand and everything. It wasn't like he was missing a hand for, you know, for episodes on end. But for Gon to do that, on a gamble, on a risk like that, you know, and he doesn't even know, I mean, he's got confidence in himself, but he doesn't know if he's going to come out on top with that one. He doesn't know if Genthru's going to go and just try to be able to go and I mean, what if Genthru was able to go and after that, you know, knock him out or whatever and take his binder and steal his cards, you know, and then Gon's got no fucking hand and no way to heal it. And probably winds up bleeding out and dying. But nonetheless, so man, Gon is a demon when it comes to fighting. This is a kid that I would not want to go up against. I would do everything I could to be friends with him because I would want him in my corner when some shit went down, man. Just absolutely crazy, next level, next tier crazy shit. Loved it, though. Anyway, so that's how the episode ends up. My episode question for you, brothers and sisters, if you couldn't tell already, is what were your thoughts on Gon and him, you know, wanting to try something that he had in his head that he thought would work, and almost did, too. Almost did completely work. If Genthru didn't trip and he takes that hit from Gon, he's probably done, you know, or at least very close to it. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that or get into an argument about it, but what are your thoughts on Gon and what he actually did? You know, sacrificing a hand and letting the other one get pretty beat up over here to go and try something out that was unknown, man. I take some balls. That's my opinion. Take some balls. Let me know what your thought is, though, on that in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching y'all in the next Fun Nation.
Remember to subscribe to my other channels and follow me on the Facebook and Twitter too.